What's going on, guys? My name is Noah Cavanaugh. I have tested and reviewed hundreds of football boots. This is my review of the Messi Point 2 edition of the F50 Elite. Let's jump into the unboxing. Now, very standard Adidas football box with the 3 stripes, all matte black, and then you have Adidas football here on that side, and then your sizing chart is the F50 Messi Elite in firm ground. No naming difference between the original model and this one. In my standard 9 US, UK 8.5, Euro 42 and 2/3, and Japan 27. If you guys are interested in sizing information about every modern day top end football boot, you guys can go to my website totally for free. Pick up in the link down below a free size guide. So you can go check that out. Let's jump into the unboxing. Ooh, very nice. Okay, so we get the Messi logoing on this new string bag. I'm kind of bummed they went away from the mesh string bags. I thought the mesh string bags were just absolutely superior to everything else on the market. I use those for pretty much everything, if I'm honest. And you have the comfort insoles, which is a suede kind of top layer, and then you've got the foam down here that's not perforated or anything, so it gives you a little bit more volume in the boots. If you are somebody who is sort of between sizes, these actually might be a great option for you, or if you want a little bit more underfoot cushioning. So the Adidas F50 Messi. Ooh, yeah, here we go. Oh my days, yes. See, I like the way these look. I think these are super cool looking. Very nice. They definitely look higher volume. Same sole plate, we'll get into that in a minute, but let's get these out of the box. There's the other one with the tag and everything. All right, here we go. Throw that guy down. Here we go, Messi Point 2 or Messi F50 Elite. I know they didn't do any distinction of what these were compared to the previous generation, but in terms of shape, let's just take a look really quick at the differences in shape. So there you can see kind of side to side. The initial or the original model is quite a bit more pointy and narrow at least in my view. That was one of the issues that I had with it, was it had, obviously Hybrid Touch is a really nice and soft material that's used on the Messi edition and the Predator Elite. But this new edition has a little bit more width here through the forefoot. And then if we turn them sideways, especially this way, you can really see the differences in volume in the forefoot area, which is pretty distinct. That's a change that I think is gonna make a lot of people pretty happy. Now, in terms of the softness of the previous generation does feel a little bit softer here. I have worn these twice now, so that might have affected it, but genuinely I do think that this newer generation is just a little bit less soft. I'm sure they will be just fine once you break them in, but overall they do feel a little bit stiffer. Let's take the piece of paper out and just kind of give a little bit of a test. Yeah, I mean, look, it's still Hybrid Touch. It's still really, really nice. It gives me kind of the similar Predator vibes as well. I know some people were complaining about the silver area here and on the outside as well. It doesn't feel all that much different. I think if it affects the break-in period of time, particularly in this area where I've got the widest area of my foot in that lateral part of the midfoot, then it'll become sort of an issue of like, okay, why couldn't you just have like painted that as opposed to, well, I guess it is paint, but it does look like a slightly different material anyway. But overall, look, this is softer than the regular edition F50. It's still Hybrid Touch. I think it's still going to perform and fit really, really well. And then just for a aesthetic check, if I can actually get these out. There you go. So there's the non-comfort insoles, which is hilarious because the forefoot is pretty much the same, and then they've just poked a little bit of holes in the back. There's like almost zero difference between the two insoles, which is hilarious to me. So in terms of construction, they are genetically identical to the original F50 Messi. You have a full Hybrid Touch upper with the prime knit burrito style tongue, which is sort of Messi's signature thing. I'm not a huge fan, if I'm honest. I think the burrito style tongue is a little bit overrated. It's a little bit kind of weird, especially because it goes towards the median, like the middle part of the boot, or what am I trying to say? I keep wanting to say anterior, the lateral and the medial side. Into the medial side of the midfoot. it's just an extra layer of material between you and the ball. And although you don't notice it all that much, it just, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me as much as like even the compression fit tunnel system on the regular F50. And that's a boot that I don't really like that much. Needless to say, it works. It's fine. Hybrid touch, really, really nice all the way around. And then you have the suede heel liner as well, which on the original model was sort of hit or miss as far as the color. Like different colors felt like they had different materials on them. I don't know. This one does feel a little bit more slippery, but in terms of the heel padding and stuff, they feel pretty much identical. The heel padding on the new one feels a little bit more substantial maybe, but the placement of it and everything feels exactly the same. So my guess is that from a playing experience perspective, the thing that's really going to affect the differences between the two is really the shape. So if the shape is really that much better and it's that sort of updated compared to the first edition, I do think that this is a boot that's going to be on a lot of people's radars, particularly because of keeping all of the aspects of this boot that not only Messi wears himself, but that made this boot sort of a special edition or something that's different enough compared to the regular edition. And then of course you have the Sprint Frame 360 traction, which I really like. I think this is a stud pattern that performs excellently well on AG and FG surfaces. Do keep in mind though, if you do buy the firm ground, you wear it on AG, it rips on AG, you're not going to be able to get any sort of return for these because it's like ruins the warranty or whatever. If you are interested in a pair of this particular boot, you can find them down in the link below. I'll put a couple different links for different stores and stuff so you can help support the channel as well. So F50 Messi, I'm really excited about these, but that could change immediately after actually putting them on. So let's go find out. All right, guys, out on pitch with the Messi 2, essentially. We're gonna get these straight on feet. I have heard these are gonna be quite a lot more enjoyable to wear for the wider foot shapes. That was really one of my biggest issues with the initial model, actually. All the different colorways was the shape of the boots. Yeah, wow. Okay, so immediate impressions, sizing fits exactly the same, have about a quarter of a thumb's width on the toe there. And then the forefoot area has actually been changed quite a bit in terms of shaping, which I really, really appreciate. It's one of those things that the shaping of the boots and the heel area in general is a major factor. Both of those are major factors in how a boot actually fits and performs. And straight out of the box, these are going to fit a lot better for those wider foot shapes. So for those of you who like the F50 silo and the look of it, but you want something with the hybrid touch, I think these are going to be pretty sensational as far as fit straight away for those wider foot shapes, which will be awesome. This is also one of those boots that I think a lot of people were shocked didn't even make the top 10 for me last year. And they were kind of an honorable mention as number 11 simply because a lot of people liked them. But the old F50 Messi edition, or I guess the first model that they did, really didn't fit my foot that well. It was really awkwardly shaped. It had a really pinched toe box area, and it didn't do a great job of pinching into the side of the boot kind of in this area where I feel like I get those awkward gaps. It's like one of the things that I don't like the most. So as far as the rest of the boots though, everything else seems to feel almost identical. The hybrid touch feels really nice and soft on feet. It gives a good amount of grip as well. They have technically changed the way that the grip works. So the Sprint Web Tech on the upper is a little bit more aggressive, but let's figure out actually if these are gonna make a tangible difference through some footwork. Now, I imagine from a performance perspective, there's not gonna be that much of a difference between this one and the first generation from a performance perspective, because they've only really changed the shape, which in this first little iteration of a dribbling drill, I can definitely feel a lot more accommodating for me, which is a huge good thing and a really nice start to the video. I think one of the things, as well as I'm kind of working my way into a session, is really going to be the way that the heel area fits, because that was a big issue in the first model, and also really kind of my dislike for the burrito style tongue. And I know a lot of people really enjoy that burrito style tongue. Personally, I wish they would have gone for more of the compression fit tunnel system across the midfoot. Not because it's going to add substantially more lockdown, because I do think this boot has actually quite a bit of lockdown to it already. But I do think that when it comes to the way it fits around your foot, I find that the burrito style tongue kind of scrunches up right on the edge, or I guess on the inside maybe here, kind of where the tongue comes over into the side of the boot, which is just really annoying and kind of creates like a mini hot spot in that area. All right, little bit of a warm up for the adductors, getting a little bounce off the wall, little touch, little pass into the corner, nice and easy. I'm not really focused on like a particular area of the goal. I just want to get that warm up going as we start to get what the feel of the boots feels like. And to be honest, I like these a lot better than the first model. I know it's super subtle differences, but those subtle differences are really kind of what make, again, it's the Mizuno-ification. The Predator was this way. I'm really happy to see that, yes, although I didn't like them all that much, a very popular model in the Messi F50. Let's do actually one more here. The very popular Messi model, they said, hey, it works for a lot of people. We're just gonna slightly update it. And I think that's such a good way to go, particularly because there is a lot of potential in a boot like this that you can just ever so slightly tweak and modify the shape of to make better for more people. All right, a little more aggressive dribbling drill here, similar to other playtests you might have seen in the past, just getting through these cones and getting a little bit of a finish on the end. Again, I'm not worried about shooting. This is about, per the video, right? Per the wearer of these shoes, Leo Messi, if he's inside the 18, most likely he is passing the ball into the back of the net. He's not actually shooting. And so that's what we're trying to emulate here. And also just warm up kind of those side to side movements as we get into more of the aggressive shooting stuff. But as far as the boots go, one of the things that I'm gonna call kind of BS on is their side. Ooh, oh no. Okay, let's try that again. We will essentially, I get frustrated about the liner around the ankle area. I think it's a little bit too hard, and similar to shoes that don't fit all that well, you get kind of digging, especially when you tie the laces really tight, you get digging in this kind of area here where this ankle piece is pretty hard plastic on the edges of the hybrid touch. And so there isn't that soft edge to sort of make it a little bit, make it a little bit more comfortable to wear and to change directions. Because imagine if I'm changing directions, and I'm coming up to take a shot, and I plant here, that edge on the lateral side of the boot here is gonna dig right into the side of the ankle, which is obviously no good. Now, in terms of striker feel, this is where I really like the hybrid touch. Yes, it's slightly different than Predator 25, which is not really a problem. I think both iterations of hybrid touch are absolutely fantastic in my opinion. But I do think the Messi edition does have benefits in terms of it being a little bit less grippy than the Stryskin fins on the Predator for obvious reasons. That's supposed to be a power or control boot, whereas these are much more kind of speed focused. But I gotta be honest with you, if I'm gonna pick one, and let's assume, oh no, let's go one more there. Let's assume that the FT model is not on the cards because it's a slightly different construction. You've got the fold over tongue, etc. I'm gonna pick even between this model and the regular tongue version of the Pred, comparing apples to apples in terms of a hybrid touch to hybrid touch. I'm picking the Predator all day, even though these are a lot better and more comfortable and more enjoyable for my wide feet. And that's something that I think is, you really can only, I guess, get that feeling of once you've tried both boots back to back, but for my preferences, the Predator is definitely the way that I'm gonna go, even though these are a nice upgrade. All right, a little bit of right-footed action here, getting through the cones, and then a little bit of strike. Ooh, hello. Bummer. Hopefully that doesn't go into their field. Nah, that's all good. I'll go grab that a little bit later. We call that a 4 in America. 4. That's what they say on the golf course. All right, here we go. I do really appreciate the sole plate here. I think this Speed Frame 360, Sprint Frame 360 sole plate is really good for what it is. I think a lot of people are, oh, it's not aggressive enough for a speed boot. You know, it has to compare with Furon and Vapor, which are of course great boots in their own right. But I do think that for most people, and I think Adidas knows this, most people are playing on AG and FG surfaces. And so when you have a boot like this, that per this video, obviously, we are on an AG pitch. When you have a boot that can compete and be grippy, but not overly grippy on an AG surface while still giving you the snap of a speed boot sole plate, that's a really positive thing, right? So that's one thing that I think is great about these boots is the sole plate. The lasting hasn't changed, even though they've changed the shape of the material. All right, a couple free kicks before we wrap up today's video and the conclusion. Let's get these going. Top bins. There's a game going on behind, so I'm just hopeful that I don't absolutely sky these. Oof. That's all right. Getting warmed up here. I think for me, the shape of these boots is a knock out of the park. They've done a really nice job. But the liner around the ankle area is really, really not comfortable. And I gotta be honest about that. I think they've done a great job with the material and the shape and the way that these kind of fit on feet with the combination of the Sprint Frame 360 sole plate. But I do think one of the problems comes in with that area here on the outside, the lateral side of my ankle. The medial side of my ankle, I haven't felt all that much, so it's not really that big of an issue. But I do find that the lateral part of my ankle is having some little hot spots, which is obviously kind of annoying. Nice. We'll end on that one. Let's jump into the conclusion. All right, conclusions on the Messi F50 2.0, I guess you could say. And definitely lots of improvement here. This silver place kind of on the lateral side and on the medial side that I think a lot of people were complaining about, honestly didn't feel it at all. That's something that, you know, you actually have to go out and play. Like I get it in hand, it's really easy to sort of talk that type of area, particularly because it's like, oh, it's new, there's a design and there's obviously like a different element to it. But when it comes to this upper, very, very soft, just like the original was, great material. That hybrid touch is awesome. The extra little grip element, I don't feel it all that much, to be honest, compared to the first generation. It's still there, you can still feel it, but it's not like a overwhelming, you know, sort of grip feeling like a grip knit is on a Vapor, for instance, which is kind of a direct competitor to this. Heel area is okay, but again, this outside here on the lateral part of the heel area is really not great. I felt a lot of pressure on that outside, and I wish they would not have laminated it on the top here. It literally looks like they've put some sort of lamination or some sort of polyurethane material on the outside of the hybrid touch, which is a really big no-no for me, particularly around sort of a soft spot on your foot, which is that ankle area. Knowing that the ankle moves side to side, back and forward, that's an area that you want to keep really soft, really plush, and quite padded, if I'm honest. So outside of that, this boot does a really nice job. It's a big upgrade as far as shape goes. I think it fits a lot more anatomically than the previous generation. If you loved the first generation, you're still gonna love these. They might have a little bit more width and volume in the toe box area for what you're looking for, but so I guess stack up on the previous generations, but overall, I'm very impressed with the changes they've made outside of the few things with the tongue and sort of this area here. Overall, pretty good. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome. Take care. See y'all in the next video.